So next week will be ratings. Well, that'll be exciting to do our ratings because we always do the ratings at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So that'll be exciting. All right. You ready to start the show?
I mean, I get you're the one playing on your phone, so I'll play
I'm
on
getting
my
really
phone.
excited.
I was following your lead, just being like,
You're
"Oh,
supposed.
it's phone
I thought
time.
but if you listen to,
I mean, you're opening a game right now. Really? You're opening. There's a dragon on there, man.
It's gonna play in the background.
So you get to play your game, but I don't get to play mine.
My game plays itself in the background.
I mean, I can turn on Strike Force and have that do whatever I need to do. You remember you used to play Strike Force, and then you like sucked it up, and you got auto kicked from the alliance.
I did. All right, so welcome. Are we gonna just banter like two ladies?
Know, but isn't it? Don't you use the phone trick too when someone has a conversation with you and you're just like, just gonna pull my phone out and start going through it like, yeah, man, yeah, man.
Should we just do that for?
I mean, we would probably have more people watch us play on our phones than talking about wrestling because wrestling is awful.
All right, so welcome to Powerbomb Weekly,
and it's fake.
It's still real to me, man.
It's still real to me. Yeah.
So I mentioned at on the Facebook that we were gonna have another format change, and he wanted to punch me. I changed the aesthetic. That's all. That's the format.
Yeah, I don't like change.
But I did. He actually knew everything that was going to be on the show yesterday. I had everything done earlier.
Yes, and he sent me a thing that said, if you have anything extra you want to talk about or suggestions, shoot it over. Which I did. And you know what I see on this sheet
right here? That's where this is, here.
No. What it is he took my suggestions and just went, well, that basically falls under this category.
Look what I gave you.
Overflow of 15 minutes.
And final thought, 15. You got 15 minutes at the end.
I wanted to see my actual suggestion in print across our format sheet, and that did not happen. So
it's because it's already going to be a part of it. So let's just start the damn show, okay?
Are you sure?
We should start the show.
I'm waiting on you here. How's your dragons doing?
I don't know. I'm paying attention to my show.
Are they like?
I'm paying attention to my show.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Powerbomb Weekly. Tonight, the guys talk about, more firings in the WWE.
Hi, Dan.
It's a whole new phrase of the meaning Survivor Series.
Oh, nice.
The guys will also make their Survivor Series picks, talk about the steroid trials, and look at all the rumors and current storylines from all the shows. But first, let me introduce to you your hosts. Your first host is a man that is a headliner. He would never be cut from any wrestling organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Michael Burdett. And his co-host. Let's just say if Powerbomb Weekly was cutting dead weight like the WWE is doing, this guy would be the first guy on the chopping block. Ahead of the janitor, and the voiceover guy, and the guy that changes the light bulbs, and the fill-in host, Joey Marcello. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on with the show.
Who's the fill-in host?
Well, you would be the fill-in host for the time that I wasn't here.
So,
really,
I'm getting fired from my own show.
Yes, you're getting fired from your
I do
own
all
show.
the things that he said when we get fired first.
No. You would. The point is, I think what Kevin was trying to get to in his wonderful introduction is that the show recognizes true talent, and the talented people would remain, and the people who actually make the company go forward would probably get fired.
Oh, much like the WWE.
Much like the WWE of, this is our talent crop that we have. Well, no, we don't need that anymore.
Yeah. I contest that Top Dollar actually never had a SmackDown match.
They didn't have matches, they had promos.
Right. I'm just saying that they were fired. We'll get there. All right, so, as always, we have to do the thing. There's the thing. Here's the thing.
I don't have a joke this week about taking Vince's money because at this point, I would hope that our show would make a ton of money, and I would just give it to all the people who just lost their jobs right before Christmas.
So one of the memes I have is a little bit of bad taste. And I thought it was funny. It may offend someone.
So you're telling me that it's bad taste of a meme to have that, but it's not in bad taste to have a investor conference call where you completely shut down all anyone's concerns and once again make the statement of record-setting profits, and then the following day fire again half a dozen plus people
I'm just saying
right before the holidays.
No, I'm just saying that I have a meme here that might be in bad taste.
Okay, all right.
You know, Becky Lynch has got green stuff all over her body. The Hulk's got a smile.
That's not worse taste, you know?
WWE releasing the WWE Universe due to budget cuts. I got a really cool thing for you that later. And look, I got a WWE contract. It's worthless. Because...
Speaking of that statement, is it in the news section, but did you add the Tony Khan thing?
No.
So did you read that article where Tony Khan talked about that?
No.
So he basically said at this point, a WWE contract is worthless because it is a short-term agreement that can be terminated at any time on their doing for no reason or no fault at all of your own.
Right.
And he basically came out and said, like, because it started with them talking about MJF's contract, and he said, yes, I have MJF. I signed him to a 5-year deal. He's 2 years through. He's on to 3, and he's making his statements about how he'll field
the bidding wars. His quote was the bidding wars start in 3 years.
Yes. Oh, hello. Hi, Marshall.
What's up, bro?
And hello, Daniel. We were doing the intro, so hello. But yeah, he said, you know, in reference to that, he's like, I have him for 5. I've got him for 3 left. If he wants to do whatever he wants to do at the end of it, that's fine. But my contract is at least I'm paying him, and I don't want to get rid of him for any reason at all whatsoever. But you can go sign a contract with them, and it's basically worthless because all they have to do is say, your downside guarantee, if there's still, I don't even know what a structured WWE contract looks like at this point, but they can easily sit back and say,
You're done.
You're done. You don't have a job here. We only have to pay you X amount of dollars left on your contract, and you're done.
All right. Moving on. Survivor Series this week is going to start with the Future Endeavors Battle Royal.
Yeah.
So
wouldn't that be more interesting?
The winner gets to keep. It's like Hunger Games. The winner gets to keep their job.
But wouldn't that be more interesting? And also, one of the guys we're going to talk about here in a moment, they did that with him, and it made him more interesting to the fans than anything they had done with him up to that point because they knew it was true. See CM Punk, see Daniel Bryan, see AJ's contract, see how many other people, see Bret Hart, going even further back. We could even go further and further back into people like Ric Flair and Kurt Hennig.
Mm-hmm.
See people who know things, and it is a real thing. That's what makes wrestling good, is real things, cranked up to 11, but still real. So that would have been interesting.
This was the TikTok that I shared that a lot of people couldn't read, so it was like, WWE's 2K22, their new game, here's how your career mode works. You start in BCW, you get signed to NXT, you win the championship, you go up to Raw, they change your gimmick, they release you, and then all of a sudden a blank screen shows, says, thanks for playing! Now continue to AEW.
Yeah. Sign with AEW, feud with Cody. Yeah, that sounds about right. So out of these people right here on the Survivor Series,
Future Endeavor
Battle Royale, who's next on the chopping block at this point?
I think that...
I'm pretty certain Chad Gable's probably going to leave.
I was going to say, Alpha Academy is probably on their way out.
Yeah.
I think that the War Raiders, they've done nothing with.
No.
Loss, the sexy Hispanic team is going to stick around for a little while, but not much. And unless they do something with the Hurt Business after Survivor Series,
you think Shelton and Cedric are gone?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even the people that are chasing the 24/7 championship anymore. And
that's the sad thing, is that you used to be able to know when people were chasing the 24/7. Well, that guy's gone. Now those guys have got more longevity in their career than Karrion Kross had.
I don't understand why Sami
Akira
Zayn.
Tozawa has been employed longer than Karrion Kross was.
But he just got fired.
Yeah, but still, I think he was employed longer.
I don't understand why. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't understand why Sami Zayn still has a job.
Because he's over on Twitter. And remember, Vince only apparently understands or cares, even though he doesn't understand Twitter, he only cares about Twitter and the numbers that Twitter generates for him, and Sami Zayn is over on Twitter.
Okay, I guess that's, okay.
But don't get yourself over anywhere else.
Don't go over.
Yeah, don't get yourself over. Get the character over. So the character of Sami Zayn is over.
Yeah.
Not whatever his real name is.
Because we haven't seen Sami Zayn wrestle a El Generico match in ever.
Also, we haven't really seen Sami Zayn wrestle in how long. It's like a 2-minute, squash disqualification, hokey dokey finish.
So as we kind of so WWE fired a bunch of people. John Morrison, Hit Row, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jason Riker.
I called that Tegan Knox shit on the WWE page.
Yes, you did.
I made sure to
screenshot
it. And what did I say? They wished her a happy birthday. And based off the people who have gotten happy birthday wishes on the site, and then served their release papers, what did I say? I said, "Oh God, they remember you've been, they remember they have you on, contract. Good luck in your future endeavors." And then what happened? They fired that chick 2 days later.
All right, so
don't let them know your birthday. Let them know you were born and are legal age to work, but don't let them know the exact date of your birthday, because they will fire your ass very shortly after that.
This is the second time this year that they have recorded record numbers and cited the reason for firings to budget cuts.
Now, the thing that's interesting about this, and I took a look at this, if you saw last week's show, if not, go watch it after you watch this one. And
after you watch Survivor Series.
No, the hell with that. Watch all of our content and figure it out from there, right? But I did a numbers recap from many years ago. I read a little expert of something that I had written for class, right? But theoretically, I see what the problem is when we talk about this. Nick Khan was brought in to tighten things up around. And I have had this discussion, but to a point I do believe it, of personnel is always going to be a business's one of its largest expenses. Now, I don't know what the WWE's large expenses look like when you factor in things like fuel trucks. I know post-COVID, blah, blah, blah. But,
they're
trucks
moving their
for fuel,
headquarters.
they're moving their headquarters, all this other stuff, whatever that they're doing for it. But typically, personnel is going to be pretty heavy for a business, right?
Having owned my own business, people's employee paychecks is the number one thing I pay out.
Yeah, and you're independent for it. But the thing with that is that they had 240 or 270 people on their roster, and they fired 70 some of them, okay? The problem is not...
We're up to 120 since COVID started.
So they fired 120 out of almost 300 wrestlers. Now the thing with that, guys, and I want to translate this well. It's not so much the quantity at this point of the firing, it's the quality that I think we're starting to take an issue with. Because you cannot tell me that you did not see value in Hit Row, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, a lot of these people, Tegan Knox, who just re-debuted, a lot of these guys...
Technically, John Morrison got his job back after COVID. And his wife.
Yes, you didn't see value in Ty Valkyrie. But a lot of other people who are not great, or 24/7 championship chasers, continue to have jobs. Or major parts of your office personnel who... Did you see the Reddit thing that came out about. So WWE, like, what is it, like the LinkedIn surveys or whatever it is about working there, essentially. I think Cornette talked about this, which might have been what led me to go look at it. But essentially, they have a review section on their page from like a third-party entity company that posts things about like what it's like to work at this company, right?
Right.
And the breakdown of that was very interesting. If you want to listen to this segment on Cornette's, I think he did it, but you can go listen to this 10-minute segment. But basically, they were like, pros of working with the company, like, oh, the benefits are nice. Everyone here is really nice, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets to the negatives, and it's like, negatives, and then it just basically cites all the things that we figure would be negative about it, including one thing that says, there are people employed there who don't know what their job is and do not understand how they interact with other departments.
You mean like when they hired all the comedy writers instead of wrestling writers?
Who did not know what their roster looked like, what their champion looked like, and what their character was. Other than the fact that he was big, muscular, and black, and had maybe a faction, didn't really know. Yes, things like that. That's a big problem because as a writer, I'm assuming they're getting paid a couple $100,000 a year, probably. Mm-hmm. Especially if they have some type of pedigree, which this person does. Again, we're not just pissing all over this woman particularly. But the point of that is that you're firing talent, but you're firing good talent that the other team is going, come here. Because a contract from us is a contract. Whether we hire you for 6 months, a year, or whatever,
6 days.
I'm going to pay you what I pay you to work here. Why would any up-and-comer at this point, other than the thing we talked about last week of their dream to work for the WWE and main event WrestleMania, what about going to work for Vince is appealing at this point?
Well, see, I'm glad you said that because I did some deep thinking about this. I got to turn my volume down. Apologize.
Oh, are your dragons attacking? And
no, I'm getting text messages, and I thought that I had turned it down. I was trying to be polite for the show.
Oh, you're trying
okay. But thanks for calling me out.
Yeah, I'm going to call you out, man. Did you turn all of it down?
I did.
And what about that little white button right there?
That's the button. Don't worry about that button.
Don't worry about that button.
Okay. All right. So these people that are fired. So let's talk about some of the people that have been fired recently. So you have John Morrison.
Okay.
Tegan Knox. I'm going to talk about the big names. So Karrion Kross, John Morrison's wife, Taya Valkyrie, the other really big, Bronson Reed. Okay?
Yes, Bronson Reed.
Who just recently showed up somewhere else. Anyway, you have these big names. They were huge on the independents. Most of these people were hired about 2 years-ish ago. So did Vince lock these people into contracts here to prevent them from going there?
Well, that actually is something that happened.
Like Morrison just left Impact.
Well,
and he came.
Well, one of the things that happened was Vince. So it's kind of like a multi-level thing, and as you see it get rolled back, it's the fan anger, and it's obviously the performer's anger at this point for certain things, but what happened was that they tried to branch out into multiple different avenues of things. Mm-hmm. And they thought that if they get this person from this area, from this country, with this ethnicity, that they could be a standard bearer for that side of it. Because remember, we were going to have NXT Japan, we were going to have NXT India, we were going to have NXT Brazil or whatever, right?
India and Japan were just going to.
So, but they wanted to go global with that idea. So they hired a ton of talent to fill those things. And then what they did is that they panicked when the big AEW contracts come in. I don't give a damn what they say. This is what happened. And they started signing people to big, more long-term, year-long deals with larger revenue for the performer than what Vince really wanted. But they did it because they panicked.
Right.
And then COVID shutdown happens for everybody. And now they're getting to the point of saying, well, we emergency signed this person for X amount of years for X amount of dollars. We don't see that right now, so we're going to go ahead and cut this team or this person. And I think what they're doing is this is why NXT has been cut so hard, or at least people who had NXT contracts were cut so hard, their clauses for them allow them to be cut faster with less dollars paid out, with less of a turnaround for them.
But but here's the biggest problem with all that. So Vince grabs Bronson Reed, Karrion Kross, Ricochet had been there for a while. So Bronson Reed, Karrion Kross, and Keith Lee. We'll just use those for examples.
Okay, yeah.
He snipes them before Tony Khan AEW can.
Yeah.
And even Malachi Black. We'll go with Malachi because he was one of those guys too. Aleister Black.
Yeah.
Tommy End, whatever you want to call him. So he brings these people in, and he brings them to the NXT. And what happened when they were in NXT? They were killing it.
Yes.
Go back a year from now. Watch our show a year ago. It was AEW, NXT, the two best shows on TV. And you were like, I don't know about the AEW stuff, but NXT is killing it. That was a year ago.
Yeah, no.
And so these people
I haven't thought about that, but yeah,
all these people that they brought in to keep them from going to the alternative were doing what they needed to do and making it amazing. And I don't care what Vince in his delusional old man ass thinks, they are the competition. They're no competition. And I mean, Becky Lynch gave the best answer to this question. Do you think of them as competition? No, I think that they are a viable option.
Yeah.
Because they are 100% a viable option. Right now, honest to God, I watched every single wrestle show this week. This first week in probably a month, I got to watch every single show of the week. And I watched it, and I enjoyed watching it because I didn't take notes on everything. I just had to remember the key players and the key storylines, which was part of the reason we vamped the show. Because we want to enjoy what we want. We still want to love wrestling. And Impact had a better show than SmackDown and Raw.
Yes.
Impact, who's bringing in less than 100,000 viewers, is putting on a better show. Their main event was Josh Alexander with...
does that not, however, though, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Does that not validate Vince of, these things are not competition? Because as you just pointed, they're bringing in 100,000 people. Vince, despite the dwindling audience that he is left with, is still bringing in 2 million people.
On SmackDown.
Also, Vince, I guarantee you, knows, regardless of what people like to say on, behind the keyboard of, the protective wall, of anonymity that is the internet, I guarantee you, if Impact has 130,000 people watching it,
right,
I guarantee you 100,000 people of those watch Raw and SmackDown.
Oh yeah, I'm
if
one
not
of them.
Exactly more. And all the people who say I don't watch WWE or whatever, they do. Mm-hmm. They absolutely do.
Well, even Becky, they asked Becky, do you watch AEW? She's like, I watch AEW all the time. I want to see what's going on. All right, so you had the people who fired. John Morrison, was that a surprise to you?
Yeah, just because, I figured he had protection from, Mazansky.
Right, and
And honestly, Johnny drips over.
Right.
And for the most part, he was a pretty solid upper mid-card talent who could step up at a high level if they needed him to replace in a co-main event section. Mm-hmm. I believe Johnny Morrison was very solid for them where they needed to be at. Yes, so him being fired, I was surprised.
Right, and the only reason that they haven't used Morrison in the last month is because Miz has been on Dancing with the Stars, and he's going to be making his return after Survivor Series. So I don't... And again, we don't remember these things, but just before Miz went off to Survivor Series...
They had a program where
because Morrison hurt him! And
yes.
The reason Miz was off TV is because Morrison hurt him so bad.
Yes, because Miz and Morrison had finally split. Yeah, so them disappearing, I mean, yeah, that's unfortunate. And honestly, they're never going to fire Miz, but God, I would have taken Morrison over Miz.
All right, so Hit Row. We've talked to this guy. They didn't even
sense.
They didn't even debut.
No. It made no sense to fire these 3 guys. It made 0 sense whatsoever. If anything else, if you did not see value in them on the main roster, which made no sense, because I did read an article that said, well, they couldn't figure out if they wanted them to be heels or baby
Right,
faces,
right.
blah, 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 blah. It made no sense. I mean, you screwed it up in NXT anywhere where they were heel faction, and then because they got over so hard, they became babyface faction.
Right, because they had to fight with the cartel.
Yes, but this is a huge, huge loss for you guys because they clearly proved that they could be either heel or babyface.
And just even, if they're going to get rid of 2 of the 3, why would you get rid of Isaiah Scott?
No. Why would you get rid of Isaiah Scott?
Honestly,
for them, I was more surprised that they fired Top Dollar. I understand that one of the rumors that they say is not true was that he had heat because of his rap stuff.
Right.
But the only thing I could figure is maybe they don't own his rap stuff. So they don't own his rap CDs because I think his 3rd CD is about to drop. So maybe because they felt that they didn't own it, that they could get rid of him for that. But given the fact that he's former NFL, he looks the way he does. He's a big guy, big, athletic, strong guy. And he has outside, credibility. I thought Vince would be all over that. So truthfully, yeah, why would you get rid of Swerve? But I was shocked that they got rid of Top Dollar.
You want to see some amazing wrestling, go to Season 3 of Lucha Underground. Isaiah Scott him and Ricochet, and whatever, Prince Puma, and whatever their names were, those 3 killed each other.
Yeah.
In amazing matches. Tegan Nox, not surprised at all.
Horribly surprised, but not. I'm not surprised because they just featured her, and I said that they would fire her because they remembered that they had hired her. But I am surprised that they fired her because they just remembered that they had hired her and featured her.
Drake Maverick, he's been on borrowed time.
He has.
They quietly brought him up from NXT.
Like I said, the all-seeing eye of Sauron finally took a look at this guy. And why is this little midget British bastard on my show? Didn't we fire Hornswoggle 10 years ago?
And he put out an amazing video.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to... That even John Cena's talking amazing about. So Shane Thorne... So
I don't remember Shane Thorne.
So Shane Thorne's part of Retribution. They didn't fire the other one.
Is he the...
He's the white one.
No. Oh, is he the one that they forgot that they had hired? Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. He got caught catering. That article where they basically said that they had forgotten that they hired him for 6... Basically, what had happened was... if you've ever seen the movie Office Space, this is clearly what happened. Is one of the executives came in and went, Shane Thorson, we actually fired him 6 months ago, but we never stopped paying him, so...
No, we stopped paying him.
We were still paying him, so we just stopped payment on the checks. Be like, oh, so he's fired. Be like, no. We just stopped payment on the checks. This will just work itself out naturally and avoid conflict.
Right. And then Jackson...
So he's going to come back and burn the building down.
Right. And then Jackson Riker, nobody's surprised. Because
his program was done. Elias was clearly the more feature for it. And Jackson Races needed to go away.
And that's the one name I think is missing from this list.
Is Elias?
Elias. They did all these Elias is Dead promos before they announced Hit Row.
He'll probably be gone.
And we've seen nothing from Elias.
Elias will probably be gone in the next round, I would imagine. Unless he's over with Vince.
We can't fire him yet. We can't fire someone who's still working on injury.
Yeah, that's right. He is still injured at this point. So yeah, when he comes back, he'll do probably anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks worth of TV, and then he'll be gone too.
Alright, so Drake Maverick did an amazing video. We're going to play it for you real quick. Because it works well. And so... The thing about it is the first part of the video where he's all mopey, and that's what he did to retain his job last time. They fired him in the middle of a tournament.
Yes.
And so they're like, hey, you're fired. And they're like, because they had taped the shows ahead of time, he was still featured in the tournament after he'd been fired. So he's like, well, I guess... You can watch me on TV for 2 more weeks, but know that I've been fired for it.
Yeah.
And so that's how the video starts, is very much the way his last video went, and then it goes, you're going to get some very EC3 vibes on it.
I'm not going to talk during this. I think we're just going to play it.
Yeah.
So just off the phone with.
Probably won't turn it on.
It's going to go way louder in a minute. Bob from The Simpsons. It's like Joe Bob. Somehow he looks more muscular there.
Can't pull this one again.
Can everyone hear that
You're gonna
or
be
see
fine.
it?
I mean, everything they ever gave you turned into a moment, right?
Yep.
If they wanted you to be a manager, you made it work. If they wanted you to run around 24/7, you made it work. They even tried to get rid of you. You made that work too. I don't know what else to tell you. You're a success. You've always been a success. And you're going to carry on being a success. You did everything you said you were going to do in life. You're a success. Look at me. Look at me. Hey. I know we've been here before. We don't belong here anymore. What was our dream? Come on, what was our dream? It wasn't to be a WWE superstar, was it? It was to be a professional wrestler. You can't be fired from wrestling, pal. Somebody's going to book you. Even an idiot like you. But what I'm asking you to do is get up. Because if you don't get up, this whole journey, this whole dream, it's going to die. It's going to end. And we got so much more that we need to accomplish in this journey. It's going to keep going. But we're not going to accomplish nothing if you don't get up. Come on! Get up! What, you're just going to let this dream die? Get up! We're going to accomplish everything! Get up! Get up!
So it goes on a little longer where he goes in the bathroom, he washes his face, and then he takes off his WWE shirt and throws it on the sink and then walks away.
But he gets a phone call and smiles right as he walks away. So this is a very powerful statement from them. It's probably what every single one of these names listed here felt
Or
when they
the
got off
80
the
of them.
phone. Or the other 80 names that are behind this, that they felt when they got off the phone with John Laurinaitis, knowing that he was going to continue to make $1.5 million a year, while every single one of these people had to figure out how they were going to feed their families, over the holidays. On top of that, what are these people going to do? What are some of these people? What is this guy Drake Maverick going to do? This guy legitimately was a nobody. He won a competition on TNA to be a superstar forever ago.
With the name
Rockstar
Spud.
He was Rockstar Spud. And Drake Maverick right here That right there is the best thing that he's done in the couple years that they have had him on lockdown. He was believable, he was relatable, he was understandable, and he was translatable to an audience because he looks like that with his little T-Rex arms running around, okay?
He's an actually good wrestler, too.
These people right here and the other 70-plus names that are behind these people are worth more than one executive at your company who does not know what the other department in their company actually does for them.
So, I watched it and I was just like, wow. You know, I made the joke during it that, you know, he kind of looked like Rockstar. He looked like Sideshow Bob when he in the beginning. But, you know, it was, and I like the symbolism at the end where he's in an empty room. Like, well, there's nothing left here.
My question is does his house look like that? Is he already having to move out of his house? Was this a house that was rented for him from WWE and they told him to get the F out? Or does his normal house look like this because he is a professional wrestler? And why waste time and money decorating your house when you know for 300 days out of the year you're not going to see it?
Well, I just like the symbolism of the empty house. But, you know, we'll go with that, too.
His bathroom is bare and empty, too. He goes to wash his hands. He ain't even got no soap in there or a toothbrush. Either that or he is a very unhygienic individual, and based off the amount of hair product that we have seen in his hair to make it look that nice, I guarantee you this is a very prissy bitch who probably has some good old Vidal Sassoon.
And I'm not gonna lie, he kind of looked like a badass with the jacket and the
slick back hair and everything.
When he was dressing himself down.
Yeah,
I was like,
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, "Who is that guy?" I was like, "Oh, it's just him. He just got rid of the goofy hair and just slicked it back."
So very well done, Drake Maverick. Whatever your real name is, maybe you'll end up here at the one of the Defy shows in Seattle. Which there was one going on last night. Maybe you'll end up, wherever you end up, maybe, NWA, because, that's taken off again. Anyway.
NWA?
Yeah, Billy Corgan.
Yes.
He's trying really hard to get a TV deal. So, we have, for 3 weeks in a row, cut this program, so we're going to talk about it real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
We're going to talk about this real quick.
1994 Steroid Trial.
Is anyone horribly shocked to learn that the U.S. government screwed up a slam dunk trial because they did not have any probable evidence or anything related at all to actually putting Vince McMahon behind prison for trafficking steroids? That is what this episode, and a lot of people over the years have pointed out, was that the federal government prosecutors screwed this up so horribly that they were basically praying that Vince would somehow get something levied to him.
Like, they were like, please,
just give him 6 months.
Vince, just say you did it so we can prosecute you.
Yes, we'd really appreciate it if you just admitted to this.
Well, the best thing about this episode, and I recommend watching the episode, the best part of this episode was the fact they actually brought in the WWE defense attorney, who still represents Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Talked about it. He's like, yeah, they wanted me to prosecute, at one point in time, the defense was like, we'll prosecute, Hulk Hogan's like, well, that's a conflict of interest because I represented him personally on a different case, so you're going to have to bring a whole nother team for that one.
Well, Jerry McDevitt, I believe is his name, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Jerry McDevitt is probably the single most ruthless lawyer that has ever been in existence. That man is he is the embodiment of Al Pacino's in like Devil's Advocate of just how smooth talking and genius he is to get the WWE and Vince McMahon out of shit.
But he does not look like your typical swarmy lawyer. He looks like
I'm not knocking him as a presence for that.
No.
I'm just saying that this man knows his stuff and is so well versed in how he represents people legally that he could get anybody out of anything. Like, that's how good this guy is. And trust me, they tried really, really hard to ham this up, and they could not do it. One of the most interesting things that come out of the steroid trial that has been talked about in the form of the business has always been what was Vince's backup plan. As many people know, some people have tried to refute, but truthfully what was going to happen is that he was going to he got Jerry Jarrett a job for a year. Jerry Jarrett, former, obviously runner of his promotions from the Southern Territories, Jerry Jarrett, he had been hired and he was going to take over head of for the WWE, and he got a job for about a year because of it. Pritchard has talked about it. Was like, no, Jerry sucked, and he was too Southern and stupid to understand what we were doing, and Vince was going to run the whole thing from prison. That's probably to a point true, as Vince would never let this get away from him, even now, despite riding down the burning ship in the middle of the ocean that he's on right now.
Please, let someone else take the wheel!
But his thought process was, I'll hire Jerry Jarrett. Jerry will run the company. I'll do my 6 months or a year, whatever it's going to be in prison. You guys will get my stuff out, on my phone calls and stuff as normal. And Vince, for the most part, everything I've heard was Vince. It almost sounds like Vince expected to go to jail, or at least would not have been. He wasn't shying away from going to jail. And
but
I
he
don't
never
know,
expected to.
I mean, they did not expect him to at all, and that's what a lot of people are saying, was that they had some contingencies in place should he go to jail, and nobody thought that he would go to jail. But if you make contingencies about going to jail, you probably think that you could go to jail. But the fact that Vince, I guess this is the question, is if Vince created contingencies about going to jail, does that mean an omission of guilt to the public eye that he did in fact supply steroids to his wrestlers?
Well, and that's the thing.
Knowingly supply and force wrestlers to take them, because I don't know, did they talk about, because I don't remember this as much, did they talk about Rick Rude's testimony?
No.
Where Vince walked by Rick and said, one of the more damaging statements that was made was that Vince went to Rick and said, "Looking a little small there, pal."
No, they did not. This is what they talked about. They talked about, did you provide steroids? Yes. That was illegal. No. I did not provide steroids for people to bulk up. I provided steroids because that is the approved rehabilitation of muscles. And the doctor's like, I did not provide steroids to get him bigger. He had a shoulder injury, and steroids are, in fact, I have been on steroids once for a shoulder injury. I didn't get swole, but
a different guy.
Different kind of steroid.
I have had steroids injections in my lower back and my hips to get those corrected. But also, I did not get swole from that.
They also said we stopped, and here was the key. I think one of the key things: when it became illegal, we stopped.
Yes.
Yes, we bulked up. I mean, everybody did it. Football players did it. We did nothing different than the NFL. But once you said we can't do it anymore, then we stopped. And and he was smart enough to go, look around my locker room. They're not the big muscular people anymore.
Yes, he had also been smart and put his title, if you remember at this time, on Diesel, who...
I think they said Bret Hart.
Well, they had done Bret Hart, but they'd also put it on Diesel because they were going to put it on Luger, but Luger was still on the gas. So they put it on Diesel so that way he could have a 7-foot-tall monster who looked naturally athletically gifted and was built and was not on steroids. Bret Hart talks about some of this in his book, where he talks about being given steroids from this doctor. And basically, the interesting thing about steroids is I believe it was a German doctor who came up with this. Steroids was presented as this miracle drug. It's a miracle injection. It speeds up recovery. It helps boost all of the stuff that happens. And honestly, I made the statement in one of our previous shows, I don't think steroids should be an illegal substance for professional wrestlers. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because, one, it does create... It does speed up healing process. It does create muscular tonnage and does allow you to bulk up at a rapid, fast-paced level with a stack that you can take.
But it shrinks your weenie.
You know?
They say.
You know, whatever. But the thing with that is that, I mean, it's also not a legitimate sports contest anymore. And it hasn't been. And Vince is the one who got out of that. he didn't want to pay the state athletic commissions to host his events anymore because they were eating up massive chunks of his gate profits because it was being contested under a real athletic contest. So he 86 that and made it a performance art. So if it's not a legitimate contest, if it can be regulated, controlled, and as Warrior's famous statement of difference between use and abuse, and you have guys who are going to do it anyway and get a hold of them through an illegal manner, a la 7.5 years ago where they got busted for it again, and through the mailing, the mail order steroids.
Yeah.
If we have all of these extra things that I have run out of digits for that go for the argument for it, I think that honestly, steroids in a proper regiment for a professional wrestler under a company guideline should not be illegal.
So I hope I'm not misquoting this here, but because it's been a few weeks since I watched it. I meant to watch it again, but I ran out of time. I believe they said the thing that nailed the trial for them in Vince's favor is the Ultimate Warrior's testimony.
I thought it was Hogan's.
No,
Because maybe it was Warriors.
But between the two of them, because the Ultimate Warrior, I hope I'm not misquoting this, he basically said, I can't stand that man, and if he did anything illegal, I'd be the first to tell you.
That sounds like Warrior. What happened with Hogan is that Hogan, unlike Vince, thought that Vince was going to jail, was afraid that he was going to go to jail, and he had an immunity testimony under the federal government that anything he said that indicted himself would not cause him to go to prison. And when he got up on the stand, he decided to back Vince instead of the federal government's prearranged testimony that he had and go basically against what he had told the prosecutors of, Vince gave me that stuff. He basically told everybody to get on the gas, and me and him have been doing it for years, Vince himself included, and got on the witness stand and basically said, none of that happened.
And then I believe the producer asked McDivitt, so did you know what he was going to say? He goes, absolutely not. That would have been tampering with a wit. That would have been tampering because he had his own prosecution team. But I will tell you that Vince was worried, and that was the end of it. He said, "That's all I'm going to say." Vince was worried.
Now
we did not know what he was going to say.
The funny thing,
I think they did know what he was going to say.
I don't think so. I think because
he
the
was in
interesting
WCW.
thing about
He was in WCW in '94.
He went to WCW, but if I remember correctly, that's why I was like, we needed a better fleshed out timeline of like some graphics or some shit. But I'm pretty certain he was still there, and they went and they'd done the tour of Europe. Because after they do the tour of Europe, they come back and Hogan's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because, or maybe it was they had Hogan booked for the tour in Europe, then they didn't do the tour in Europe, or they did the tour in Europe, and then Hogan didn't go, and then by the time they got back from Europe, Hogan was already gone.
Right.
So there's an interesting timeline that takes place in 1994 on the Steroid Trial that maybe we'll have a little bit more of a longer form show. We just wanted to talk about mainly the dark side recap of the show, as opposed to the actual Steroid Trial itself. But yeah, I think this is a great episode for it. The fact that they got McDivitt on there to actually talk about it is insane. And the thing about this is that, one, I absolutely love the image of Vince with the neck surgery with the big...
they talked about it.
Because everybody said it was fake, and I agree to this day that was a 100% fake thing that made him look even more unsympathetic to the legal team.
McDivitt did say, after the trial, we're walking on the court steps, and everybody's seen the picture. We got back in the car, and I'm like, Vince, you take off the neck brace. And he's like, I know what you're talking about, pal.
Yeah. So I think Vince with the neck brace was absolutely fake, to be perfectly honest. The one thing that I want to talk about with this before we move on is 94 to 95 is a really bad year for wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably one of the worst in the entire 200-plus years of wrestling history or more at this point, I would honestly say. At least 100 years or more of what is the professional wrestling entity for it.
That's Warrior right there.
Yeah, that is Warrior right there. But this is my thing with it, is I remember this being almost the turning point on a national level where interest started to really die. And I think that was because they had done the thing of it's all performance, but I think the issue, and I've thought about this really hard when it comes to kayfabe and exposures and things like that. We've talked about how long could kayfabe actually last in the modern era.
Right.
But regional exposures of people, incidents, wrestlers, even on the news level where, what was it, Hacksaw and Iron Sheik got arrested for being in a car and they were supposed to be rivals with each other and they got busted for coke and stuff. That was big, but I don't remember that thread overstretching. I remember because this was so big and national news coverage on a federal level with a federal case, with all of this craziness with McMahon in the neck brace and Hogan doing the Hogan walk and everything going on, and the fact that everything was coming out, where people were saying Vince is the guy who owns the company, he's a scumbag, he treats everybody like trash, or hey, Vince is the guy who wrote all these storylines and he told me I needed to be big and jacked up. I just remember the national perception of wrestling really changing from 94 to 95 to where they couldn't put anyone in the building at that point. Mm-hmm. They had to give away, what was it, like 65% free tickets to the Royal Rumble for Shawn Michaels to win the world title because they couldn't sell out the building.
So in this time frame, I was in submarine school, Navy cooking school, and being on my very first deployment in 1994, so I remember none of this.
I remember so
you
much.
Were, I know, you were in middle school.
I just remember the national perception of wrestling changing so hard at this point to where it was that exposure of, well, they're all just a bunch of fake steroid freaks, so what's the point? And I just remember for the first time it being like coast to coast, everyone's perception of the business changed to where they couldn't put butts in the seats, as it were. I mean, WCW, which I was watching religiously at that point because they actually ran the areas, I remember being moved front row at one of the shows because they didn't have enough people there for their nationally syndicated television program.
I watched that happen at the Impact show.
Well,
because enough people weren't there yet, and they were doing the Hall of Fame ceremony on the stage.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we'll talk about this more. We'll do some timeline. Maybe we'll do a little deeper dive in this in the future.
Yeah, but this was just recapping the episode itself.
Yeah. So, this is interesting. Before we get to Survivor Series, these are the number of pay-per-views that these wrestlers have created. Randy Orton tonight is breaking the record. He will be the most
performed wrestler
in a pay-per-view.
Yes.
And I think it's funny is because Kane doesn't wrestle anymore, Undertaker doesn't wrestle anymore, Triple H doesn't wrestle anymore, John Cena doesn't wrestle anymore, and Jericho's in another company. And you have to get 35 more pay-per-views to just be 20, just to be number 2.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that person's going to be at this point. All right, so Survivor Series, where your job could literally be on the line. First of all, before we talk about Survivor Series,
yeah,
do you care at all who wins any of these? I mean, do you feel like brand supremacy is even a thing?
We've talked about this, and it's funny that I had this thought, and I believe we had talked about it loosely a couple shows back with the Survivor Series concept. And now Becky Lynch has come out and said that she thinks the brand supremacy thing is dead, and that's been the big talk. So I don't know if because the groundswell started to talk about it, and Becky Lynch said something, that this might present some sort of change going into this show or going into next year's show of how they're going to reformat the Survivor Series concept.
They don't even get a number one draft pick.
No one gives a shit about brand supremacy because
3 years ago, they said, "Oh, SmackDown is 2-1." Well, what about the pre-show matches? There was 3 of those. Those didn't even count.
I mean, really, they flummoxed it so bad last year with the whole brand supremacy thing. The other thing to go with that too is that how many of these people show up on the same show each week?
Yep.
And they just do. They just show up. or they institute some kind of stupid thing with Baron Corbin where they're like, oh, that once a year cross promotion is why Baron Corbin can wrestle here tonight. No, that's stupid. That was the worst throwaway line that you've had in months, honestly. The shows aren't split anymore. You have, and the sad thing is that you have 2 titles on every show for every division that you have. The fact that you can't create brand supremacy in your own thing is really sad and telling about the fact of how devalued this concept is. Also, it doesn't matter because there's no stakes on the line for this moving forward. You do not have Royal Rumble entry options,
which I've read,
based off of people. You do not have the next year's draft selections based off of who wins at Survivor Series brand supremacy. You also don't have any individual things, which you have slowly started to talk about when you had throwaway lines of, like, Natty and Tamina want to be on this winning team even though they can't get along with Charlotte Flair tonight, but they'll get an extra pay bonus because of it. More things like that would make it more interesting, so that way if Roman Reigns beats Big E tonight, Roman Reigns gets a fatter paycheck. If Big E beats Roman, he has that I am solidified as a legitimate champion and I took money away from Roman and the bloodline. Like, if we really have to just talk about money or something of that nature because you cannot engineer a worthwhile storyline of, because you can't, belts don't matter, positions don't matter, anything like that, just make it about money, or in fact your fucking job. Be like, if you win tonight, you get to keep your job. If you lose tonight, well, you know what, you might be 24/7 chasing. Or, you know, start from a certain position and say, hey, you know what, you're in the main event. Well, if you lose, you're not in the main event picture anymore. You're going to have to get bumped down into the mid-card. The mid-card doesn't make as much money as the main event card. Instead of these throwaways slammed together, you know, wham bam, thank you ma'am kind of matches that we're getting where we literally do not know the main event of the show 10 minutes before the main event takes place.
So, my biggest so first of all, I will say that the only Survivor Series in recent history that I've enjoyed was 3 years ago when they actually brought NXT into it, and there were a lot of three-way.
That's what everyone liked was the NXT. The only problem I felt with
everything was a three-way match.
Well, I was okay with the three-way match concept. The problem that I had with that is that Hunter had to interject himself.
Oh, yeah.
And he was already on the authority thing, or they were doing that crap going on. So Hunter all of a sudden backing me, we are NXT! It was like, no, you're not. You're part of the authority.
And there's the second problem. Who's the manager of Raw?
Well, wait, hold on. Are we going to talk about that real quick?
Who's the manager of
Or are we going to save that for the storyline section?
No, just because that's part.
They don't have one, and it's the dumbest. No.
It's the same two people for both shows.
It's the dumbest thing. It's the same people are the managers for the show because, as far as I can understand, and this is what. Okay, we're just going to jump the gun on this a little bit.
All right, we'll do that. We'll do our predictions, and we'll go back to
okay.
We'll remember that because that's.
Please remember it because.
That's my biggest problem. So we'll get when we get to storyline.
I don't have my pen on me. I was like, I'll make a note.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
It's storyline. All right. So Survivor Series. First of all, you have the keep your job match. Who do you think is going to win this?
This is all tag teams?
This is a battle royal.
This is a battle royale. Omos.
It's either Omos or Ricochet.
No, it's not going to be Ricochet.
I know because why back talent?
No. Okay.
Is it going to be Omos or is it going to be Captain Stereotype?
No. It's going to be either Omos or Montez Ford.
Ooh. No, I can see that. Montez Ford winning this?
Yeah, it's either going to be Omos or Montez Ford.
All right.
Out of this, though, I guarantee you probably Bobby Roode is going to not have a job. Hurt Business is probably not going to have a job. Alpha Academy is not going to have a job.
Right, so who do you predict? Okay, we'll do this.
Okay.
Who's the last four in the ring?
Montez Ford. AJ, Omos, and probably Sami Zayn.
Okay. I think the last 4 are Ricochet, Omos, Cesaro. Oh wait, not Cesaro. Cesaro's on the. No, yes, Cesaro's in that match.
Yeah,
now.
Cesaro's in this match.
And Jinder. Those are my 4. All right. That's
The sad thing is that's such a horrible combination of people who aren't fucking over at all that's probably who's going to be in it.
So all right. So men's Survivor Series.
Who cares?
Who wins? Raw or SmackDown? 'Cause
Okay,
it's
so
easy.
the one thing is that's going to happen with this, it's probably already happened at this point, is Seth going to do for the greater good again this year? I don't think so. I think if they are smart, because they already screwed this up by putting Austin Theory in, and nothing against Austin Theory,
No.
but they completely somehow flummoxed up their own storyline from a week ago that all of the people who were on Team Raw were all former world champions. And then they beat up the Guerreros with Bobby Lashley and then put Austin Theory in the match. We're going to talk about that under the storyline section here in a minute because, my God, I wanted to blow my left testicle off. If they are smart, Seth Rollins wins the whole thing.
For Raw.
For Raw. And Seth Rollins proves how great he is, how good of a performer he can be, and how absolutely batshit crazy dangerous he can be.
Yeah, because there's no way
And he needs to orchestrate this in a way that makes him the superior villain of Raw. Because I can tell you after Monday, they killed Finn Balor, they screwed up Ken Owens, Austin Theory is just there to take bumps in my opinion, and Bobby Lashley at the end of the day is still going to look like Bobby Lashley at the end of the day.
And Bobby Lashley ain't done nothing.
Bobby
in a
Lashley has
while.
done really nothing for the most part, but he's still going to look like Bobby Lashley.
And at some point in time, Sheamus's guru is going to come out and help. So the only thing SmackDown has is they have more henchmen. All right, women.
They have such, I mean, realistically, it's probably going to come down to Drew and Xavier, and they're going to fight back pretty hard, and then Drew's probably going to get put out by someone. And then Xavier's going to be the sole left. And then I have a feeling Seth is probably going to cost Bobby the match by having Xavier beat him, and then Seth will beat Xavier Woods. That's the final sequence of events that I think should happen.
Raw's going to win.
It's probably already happened, and...
All right, in the women's, I'm going to go with SmackDown. SmackDown's got... Wait.
SmackDown is Sasha.
Sasha to the right.
Yeah.
Sasha's team's just got more... Yeah, Sasha's team. The only one that Raw has is...
I honestly think Raw is going to sweep it just because they have Bianca Belair. They have Ruby. Not Ruby. They have Rhea. I'm sorry, baby. They have Liv Morgan, and they're probably going to want to make Liv Morgan look strong as a credible threat to Becky. Wait, what am I talking about? The WWE doesn't have any clue how to build anybody.
Yeah, Doudrop's going to interfere us up.
So
Doudrop's interfering this.
Doudrop's going to interfere and
cost
cost Bianca? You think that's the final sequence?
Doudrop costs Raw the team.
So
match.
you're telling me that... I mean, I assume my hope for this is that they want...
You know why I said Doudrop?
Hold on.
Doudrop costs Raw because that makes no sense.
Well, hold on. The other thing that I'm looking at here now, too, is because I forgot about this because they announced it on social media.
Oh, Tony Storm?
I forgot that Tony Storm had been added into it. I don't remember what Tony Storm's character is, other than apparently someone looked at the way she dressed and decided she needed to be a child of the 80s.
She loves White Snake.
Yes, she loves the White Snake, right? I would love to sit down with Tony Storm and give her the White Snake treatment.
You're horrible.
For the most part, I don't know what, as I said, I don't know what Tony's character is now. Everybody on SmackDown's a heel. Well, I don't know what Sasha is either. Other
No,
than
Sasha's the
gyrating.
face. Sasha is
How-
a face now. Sasha is a face now.
But, okay, so I was going
I
with
hate
is
it.
that Raw has Bianca a face, Ruby a face. Why do I keep saying Ruby? My God.
Queen Barb.
Queen Barb is a face, and Liv Morgan's a face, but they have two bitchy heels who are all about themselves and their beauty and everything. So they're going to do the implosion of Team Raw because they can't get along. So I guess you're right with calling in Doudrop as an interference at the end because they would probably get down. So the girls, the two pretty girls will probably end up getting Liv executed in the match, and then they'll be down to, Rhea and Bianca. Rhea will probably take a good chunk of this match, and Bianca will do a lot of really cool, muscular
Bianca
stuff.
stuff.
And then, Rhea will probably lose. Then the two girls will get beat really quickly by Shayna Baszler back to back. And then, Doudrop costs Bianca the match. I see where you're going with this.
See, if I were booking it though, Doudrop hurts Carmella's face backstage, and she gets inserted into the match, and then helps Raw win. That's a smart booking idea,
Yeah.
but that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, no.
Because I'd like to see Doudrop and Baszler go back at it again.
Again, this goes back to the thing of why would any of these people also care about brand supremacy? Not we as the viewers have any stake in the match, but also the people in the match. What stakes do they have? The winning team does not get anything.
Bragging rights!
And this is composed, as we just pointed out, of half heels and baby faces on both sides of the equation. Why would Finn Balor
I miss the old
do
Ultras.
anything nice?
I remember. I wish it was Team Balor versus Team.
Yeah.
Where you
Or
picked
what
your
about
team.
Soul Survivor with the Warrior from back in the day?
Yeah.
Like, just change the concept. It's so outdated and bad. And this right here is another proof of how outdated and bad it is. Because, again, we have no consequences.
So we now have the evil / nice Damian Priest, where finally somebody goes, "Ooh, Damian Priest, that's like a good guy and a bad guy wrapped up in one. We should do something with
I
that."
believe that's called an anti-hero.
And it's against Nakamura. You know what? These two are going to probably shake hands at the end of the match because they're good people. And I think I absolutely think, even though we haven't seen him in weeks, or at least I haven't seen him wrestle in weeks, Damian Priest is going over.
I hope Rick Boogs turns on Shinsuke and becomes evil Rick Boogs.
He's not going to. And I do have the audio of Rick Boogs.
I sent you the audio weeks ago and you haven't used it for a sample. I'm so
going
sad
to.
for the
I'm
intro.
going to. And I love the way that Rick Boogs wrestles in spandex that looks like a jean. I love that.
It looks like a Oshkosh Bagosh.
Yes. All right, so I think Priest. What do you think?
I say Nakamura. Well, no, I say Priest because I want to see Rick Boogs turn on Shinsuke.
Okay. All right. The Bloodline's winning.
I hope the Bloodline loses.
I didn't say I wanted the Bloodline to win. I just said they're going to.
I mean, honestly, for me at this point, they have to give RK Bro a win because their storyline constantly of Riddle doing something to screw them over and Randy having to save the day. This is the one thing about it, though, that they don't seem to understand is Randy is so over right now with this character. Riddle and RK Bro has Randy so completely over, it's ridiculous. When his music hits, more people scream Randy now than they did 10 years ago, in my opinion.
Definitely more than they did with the whole Bray Wyatt thing.
Yes, absolutely. So much more. Randy is back to being super over. And if you just, and again, it's one of those things of ride this out a little bit. Make it interesting, keep it going, because if he just goes back to being super evil Randy and Punk kicks him in the head and he hears voices, you're just going to hear everybody go, really?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't do that. I think RK Bro needs a win. They need to keep the team together.
I agree, but
And
don't think that's what's going to happen.
I'm going RK Bro.
Okay.
The single most interesting match of the night, because they didn't do a damn good job of building it up on TV, and these two ladies built it up on social media better than their writers possibly could. The fact that her daddy is now involved, saying that Vince McMahon is a scumbag and won't return his 2 purchased NWA world title belts that he wants back from their historical archives, and Becky Lynch made millions of dollars off of him and his program, and this is the most interesting thing in the night, because is it going to be a shoot? Or has it been a shoot? Or have they worked us so well into believing that it's a shoot that it's going to just be a really shitty work?
It's going to be the worst match of the night.
This match is going to be great.
It's going to be the worst match of the night because
I
have
think
no finish.
It's not going to have a finish, is it?
No, that is not going to have a finish.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
That match is not going to have a finish.
What happens? Tell me what happens.
Disqualification. Referee, there's going to be a disqualification. It is not a disqualification. You know, remember, not 2 months ago, Charlotte Flair gave, I can't even remember who it was. Gave Queen Barb a backdrop on the table and got disqualified for it.
Oh, I remember.
You know, she gave Queen Barb the Randy bump.
Yeah, and got disqualified. So yeah, I mean, they're going to.
There is going to be a weapon introduced right in front of the referee. We are going to be led to believe.
The problem with this match is, I mean,
it should be the
this
best.
this is a terrible booked. I mean, well, I can't say terrible. This is a great booked match because of outside factors going into it. But the fact that
neither one of these two ladies is
they're
going
both-
to take the pin.
they're both heels, and they're both going to split the crowd because you're going to have a half and half audience behind this. And I don't know. I want to say, I agree with you. There's not they can't have a finish to this match, but they'll probably give it to it, and I'm going to say Charlotte Flair wins.
Okay. There's not a finish.
My only hope is that they actually play this up and they have a wrestling match, and then they do the Nia Jax spot where
Somebody injures the other one?
Somebody gets punched harder. I mean, sell it. Somebody throws a stiff shot, the other one gets mad, and then they just break down in the middle of the ring and get a fight, and we have no finish.
This match has no finish.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
main event, we're acknowledging the Chief. He's not losing. He's not losing to Big E. He's not losing to Big E.
That's the other problem with this, is does this match have a finish? Because they've done a great job of building Big E up as an actual, credible, again, I'll use that word that I said was dirty, deserving champion. And what happened? I mean, when we talk
They
about
cut the rope on Finn Balor.
God
Interfered.
Yes. Well,
AKA the camera guy who was caught with clippers.
yes, God had to prevent Finn Balor, the demon, from beating Roman Reigns, the exalted, holy tribal
Who
chief.
now points to...
man, thank you for reminding me that they have killed Finn Balor.
There's no way he's losing. I 100% agree. On his own,
This, though, in my opinion, this is the only match that Roman could lose where it doesn't matter. Because he could lose this match to Big E, but he doesn't lose his championship.
Right.
And they're kind of showing the cracks of he was going to lose to Xavier, but then they had, the beat-up disqualification, and then he took the crown, right?
Right.
And they had a great promo from Big E, tell your daddy I'm coming for his ass on Sunday.
The only way
That was good. This is the only match so far that they've booked in a year and a half that Roman could lose visually 100%, and it doesn't affect his position in the company, really, because it doesn't matter. And that's all he has to do is come out and say, have something happen, even if he, do something simple.
Brock Lesnar comes out?
No. Do something simple. The bloodline comes down, they throw the title belt in and go to swat Big E. Big E lays both the bloodline out. Roman picks up the title, goes to nail Big E. Big E gets the title from him. Big E nails Roman, hits him with the title, throws it out of the ring. Ref wakes up from his ref bump, 1, 2, 3 pin. Big E wins, Roman loses. The consequences don't matter because the championship's on the line. And Roman just has to come out and say, so I lost because Big E hit me in the face with a title belt. Wow, that was really powerful and big. He couldn't do it on his own. He had to hit me in the face with 20 pounds of my own gold.
Or Kofi comes out to help because Kofi's been off TV for a while.
I would like to see something like that. But yeah, at this point, I think this is the only match that they have booked that Roman could visually lose and not hurt his credibility. Unless, because, like I said, he doesn't lose the championship. So it still counts for his 700-plus day run of being a champion.
Right. We'll see. I guess we'll see. So, I don't think this is going to be a super great pay-per-view. I'm probably going to... If Peacock will let me watch it this evening, I will. But
reports are that this is being billed as a lackluster, even from the company's standards. That this is not the show that they had intended to put on because they pulled so many triggers.
A.K.A. fired.
Well, also, they pulled the trigger on Brock earlier. They pulled the trigger on Becky Lynch earlier. They pulled the trigger on a couple other people's character changes faster than what they wanted to because they had to pivot due to COVID, due to injuries, due to future endeavored.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is just a mess of a show, and my hope is that, unfortunately, every single person on this show that we just went through, they're going to kill themselves to put on a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a single performer on this brand, for the WWE brand, that's bad.
Nope. It's the best of the best.
Every person in these matches they have is not a joke, jobber, BS, why are they really here wrestler. I mean, and I'm not knocking the women. Carmella and Zelina, and okay, yeah, sure, I get that, but they're established, they're there, they can do things, and they're going to be better hidden because they don't have to do a 15-minute match with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. They can be hidden by other people, which makes them useful. Every person on this card is a damn good professional wrestler. It's just a bad card.
Do you think this will be the last Survivor Series for a while?
No.
Okay.
Because...
Do you think they'll revamp back to the old way of doing Survivor Series?
I think they're going to have to make a change. They're definitely going to have to. The reason Survivor Series will not go away, as we have talked about, is...
It's one of the four.
Well, also, what's Vince's favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is Vince's favorite holiday. Of course he's going to run a show.
All right, so let's talk about some rumors that have been going on. Johnny Gargano.
Johnny Gargano has not signed a new deal with WWE yet. Per Wrestling Observer newsletter, take whatever stock in that you want, the company is pushing very hard to keep him. They said they have made Gargano a very strong offer to stay with WWE for a long time. I don't know how much stock I put into that, other than the fact of the promo that he cut on Tuesday night where he basically said, I have been here for 5 years and you've been here for a cup of coffee, little man. Aside from him and Tommaso Ciampa,
there's nobody else.
Who is left that is a almost original?
Nobody.
Who?
From the original, nobody.
Who?
They lose, and we've talked about it. Gargano
Adam Cole is not there. They're going to lose Kyle O'Reilly. They lost. I get
those weren't even the originals.
Those weren't even the originals.
No,
yeah,
they came in after him. The thing of it is, Gargano is.
I mean, let's go back to even network television. Who do they have at this point other than
Gargano and Ciampa?
Gargano, Ciampa, O'Reilly?
No, he came in with the Ring of Honor boys too. Maybe you could make a case for LeRae, his wife, but you could maybe make a case for Imperium. But they came over with NXT UK.
Yeah, and because I was gonna say, I mean, Pete Dunne, but that's UK. I mean, yeah, they have on that brand. Now, I mean,
they're the originals.
For what is left of what you could call an original, yes. So, if they see him as the franchise of NXT,
which they have for a very long time, unofficially,
you're looking at new eyes on the product, though.
Oh, we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes.
According to PW Insider, Walter is currently more open to moving to the United States than he had been when he first signed with the WWE due to changes in his personal life. A la, see the person he's dating now.
Or NXT UK is going away.
NXT UK is being dissolved in what, February?
Something like that. So,
January or February is going to be. So where is what happens to Walter? If they lose Walter, that is the biggest mistake I've ever seen, because that, to me personally, is the only person that they have that is a legitimate physical threat to Roman Reigns.
Yep. All right. So
what happens to Ilya Dragunov? What happens to?
We've seen a few of them come
What
over.
happens to Tyler Bate? If they lose Tyler Bate,
Pete Dunne. He's one of the originals. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. If they lose Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate from all of this crap, this is the worst possible thing that they could do. You might as well take NXT out back behind the barn and put a bullet in its head like Old Yeller.
Because they started NXT before they went over to UK.
Yeah.
Amazing.
WrestleVote says one of the original ideas for 2.0 was to change the show from TV PG to TV 14. That's apparently still on the table, and the USA Network is on board with it. Again, see my quote when I posted this article. Doesn't matter!
And what was my what did I say 3 weeks ago? It seemed like they were focusing on her butt a lot more, and the outfits are a whole lot skimpier, and you're like, that's just wrestling.
Also, don't forget, Chase U has his segments where he swears and curses and has bleeps and stuff like that. I'm pretty certain Braun Breaker got to say shit on television a while back there.
He did.
Kind of like the TNT AEW be like, they get to sneak in the S word every now and then.
AEW, they did a really funny thing on, actually, remember South Park?
That's the joke.
The shit episode.
How many times can you say shit
on
national
AEW,
television?
they did like 30 times. It was like on one episode. It was when Can Ham versus Dan Leestra, or whatever his name was, Dan Lambert.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess...
the point is that if they take NXT from PG to 14... I don't think they'll do it, because they really like having that PG side of it for it, too. But
it's not gonna matter.
The whole reason... Yeah, it's just not going to matter. The whole reason they went that way is so that way it looks really good to the stock people on the national cable network for it, because of their publicly tradedness. So being TV PG works great for them.
Hey, what's AEW rated?
Probably TV 14.
TV 14!
Yes.
We're not competing with them.
No. But yeah, if they change this to TV 14 and they get better shots of the girls' boobies and the guys get to say shit every now and then, it's also the only thing that will change this and make this more interesting is if they cut back the blood policy and actually let guys bleed.
So are we going to have HLA and bra and panty matches again?
I don't think whatever.
No.
You know, I thought about that when I saw this announcement for it, and based off the people that they have involved, because as we're going to talk about NXT in a minute, they do have some people on there who can do that and probably want to see that, and the fact that, you know, like I said, the all-seeing eye of Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon and their white cotton panties that they love to see on their female wrestlers are there. It's not going to help. What made NXT great was the fact that you could watch great wrestling matches with people who were good and characters that were believable and things and stipulations that mattered. The problem with NXT is that you made it very clear when they went up to the main roster, it didn't matter anymore.
I mean, Gargano's not... neither Gargano or Ciampa's going to the main roster.
Ciampa said he will quit and go back and run his fitness gym. And Johnny Gargano, as much as I dislike him, but enjoy him for what he does, because he is Mr. Wrestling and Mr. NXT, and he is Mr. Pay-Per-View, because that son of a bitch does show up, in my opinion.
And his stuff with Loomis has been really good.
He will not translate well to the main roster at all. He is too small.
Well, remember, Ciampa and Gargano went to the main roster for 2 weeks and then came right back.
And then they came right back, yes. But that's like saying Ember Moon's time on the main roster. She was there for, what, like a month?
Right.
You know, I don't count that.
So, I said we would do this, so we're going to go through this really quick. Last week we talked about how amazing Full Gear was. It was an amazing show.
All right.
We talked about it.
We spent an hour plus on Full Gear because it was that good of a show.
Oh, sorry. First, we're going to get to that. Rumor that you announced, you brought out there.
John Jones is taken to his Twitter account, Twitter, to reveal that on December 9th he'll go one-on-one with AEW star Jake Hager in a grappling showdown. This is going to be at Fury Grappling. It's like Metamorphosis and a lot of things like that. They do strictly, it's non-combat grappling sports. The problem with this is, and this is where I would have a huge issue with Johnny Bones Jones, is he called him WWE superstar and undefeated Bellator heavyweight Jack Swagger.
That's hilarious.
He clearly copy and pasted a press release, but the fact, this right here is why Vince does not see AEW as competition, because whoever sent John the press release that he copied and pasted for his Twitter feed only saw that Jake Hager could be recognized as Jack Swagger, WWE superstar, not Jake Hager, AEW superstar, and Bellator heavyweight undefeated fighter. By the way, he has fought nothing but soup cans.
Right, now, so the question is...
Also, Johnny Bones Jones...
He didn't say that on purpose?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't think so. That right there looks like a copy and pasted press release that somebody sent him that he shared on his Twitter.
Okay. I don't know anything about Johnny Jones, so...
I want to devolve slightly for this. He's probably going to make a good amount of money, which is probably decent for him because he's probably about to go to jail or have to pay a lot of fines because he's in trouble for domestic assault and destruction of police property for what happened in Vegas. If you don't know anything about this and have questions about it, we could talk about it later. But, in my opinion, I don't know what this is going to look like because Jake Hager is I actually looked at this. Jake Hager is a more accomplished wrestler in his weight division than John Jones is for his amateur credentials. He has gotten more pins and I believe more victories than John Jones did as an amateur wrestler. The problem with that, though, as I'm very curious to see, is Johnny Jones is a fucking monster. And he always finds a way to beat him. John Jones is legitimately undefeated in the UFC. He has one loss on his record that came from a disqualification where the ref said that he threw an illegal elbow against a downed opponent. Which I watched that fight, and I do not believe that elbow was actually illegal.
So what you're saying is...
John Jones is a monster, and I do not think that Jake Hager is going to survive John Jones.
So what you're saying is Hager's got to fight, and he finally got a real fight.
Yes, Jake Hager finally has a real fight, and I do not think that John Jones is going to lose this in any way, shape, or form.
All right.
Unless it's a work.
Here are the ratings that Uncle Dave gave. So, as we discussed, we didn't watch the first match. All right, so MJF, Darby Allin, 4.5 stars.
Yeah, that told one of the best stories of the night.
AEW Tag Team Champions, 4.25 stars. I probably would have gave that another half.
I'll go with that just because they did have that one awkward spot.
Miro and Daniel Bryanson, 4.5 stars.
Agreed.
Yep. The 5 stars for the Super Click and Lucha.
No.
I would have gave that.
No.
I would have knocked.
No.
I would have knocked that down to 4.
I would have taken that down to 3.5. No.
That's because you don't like the Jacksons, and you got to remember he loves the Jacksons.
Yes, they did the not a 5-star match.
They did the Meltzer driver, so of course they have to get.
Every time they do the Meltzer driver, they get a 5. That was not a 5-star match. No. That was a good match, but it was the start of part of the downfall of the show. Let's go to the next match.
Rhodes and Pac versus Malachi Black, another 4.5-star match.
No.
4.25 star match.
I would have given that maybe 4 stars.
Okay.
It was much better than the previously aforementioned match.
Yeah.
But it was also not.
It was a low point it was one of the lower parts of the match.
Uh-huh.
Baker and Conti only getting 3.5 stars. I mean.
Yeah. Like we said, I think that these girls.
Conti's just not there yet. Baker is.
Yeah. Like I said, this had the taint of, was it going to be a straight match? Was it going to be a bloodbath? We didn't know what to go in. We didn't know what it looked like going into it. as you said, Tay Conte is not there yet, even though she was super over for what she did. It just seemed like the girls needed to feel each other out a little bit more in the weeks leading up to this match to really make it solid in the ring, but they still did put on a 3.5-star performance. I will agree to that.
Punk and Kingston, 4.5 stars. If you're going to give Lucha Brothers and them a 5-star match, this should have been a 5-star match.
I'll say 4.5 for it.
Okay.
I do think it was good. The story that they told was great. Everything in the ring looked pretty crisp for what they did.
Right, we've talked about this all.
Yeah.
Okay, Jericho, the Inner Circle versus America's Top Talent, 4 stars. No, give that down to 3.
I would have said 2.5, honestly. I was not super great. I did go back and watch this. As I said, I didn't get to see a lot of the full completion of that, but the only thing good in that match, in my opinion, as we talked about, was we got to see a couple of the guys do some work that we haven't seen in a long time, and the UFC guys proved that they can have a wrestling match with 10 other people. They probably could not have done that one-on-one. Arlovsky versus, Santana would not look very good on an individual match. And the stuff with, as we talked about, Jericho and Dan Lambert doing the stuff that they did, really, anytime Jericho gets involved, he brings down the rest of it. So yeah, I'd have said that was a 2.5-star match. I would not have given that 4 stars.
And then Paige and Omega, 5.5 stars.
Because, Kenny's in it. He's going to just rate it as high as humanly possible. I'd say, I'm going to say 4.5. I don't think it was a 5-star match.
Were any of these matches 5-star matches?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, maybe Darby and MJF was a 5-star match in my opinion, because not...
Right.
Again,
the story it told.
I'm not being partial to the two guys that I like. I'm just saying the
story
fact
told.
of what we saw Darby do,
Which?
the story they told, and the fact that it all built to a logical, reasonable, place to go forward conclusion made it a 5-star match.
So, before we go to the next slide, because we're just going to move on with this, because we talked about this in depth. But again, look at the times. Not a single match under 10 minutes. Many of them over 15 or
Punk's
20.
was the closest at 11:08.
And then pin, submission, pin.
Decisive victory.
Now, not all of them were clean, but decisive.
On the record books, it is not a DQ.
Tony Khan has said he will never put a count out in a pay-per-view.
I don't think that that's a good statement to make, because sometimes it warrants it.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, Kingston and Punk could have gone to a count out because they could have just beaten the crap out of each other outside and not gotten back into the ring.
All right. Your favorite. Let's talk about some storylines. I don't even want to move this over. All right. So first of all, I do have some bullet points for storylines, and then we'll devolve. All right. So
We have 40 minutes to get through this.
This is the last part of it. So AEW. First of all, Michael, you were right. I know you love hearing that. I know you love hearing this. You were right. MJF comes out and says, "I am the greatest professional wrestler in the company. Darby Allin, I beat you with a takeover headlock. That is how I beat you. I beat you with a takeover headlock. That is how you are no longer a pillar of this company, Darby." And then Punk comes out. MJF gets punked. I mean, you can't even put it any better.
No.
He comes out, MJF's like,
The only problem I had with AEW was that MJF got to move on to Punk and Darby got to move on to Billy Gunn.
Right. So MJF again roasts everybody, does an amazing job on the mic, and I would just put MJF clips up here all day and have MJF porn, but I'm not doing that anymore. But Punk just laughs at him and walks away.
Yeah. No, this was good.
Could not have been better.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson's. This is actually how the show started, but Bryan Danielson going heel. Is that how you took it?
I mean, everybody kind of said it that way. The problem with that is that, I mean, that's kind of the American Dragon character,
Okay, so I
But
don't know much about that character.
I get he was a heel, and he was kind of like a cocky, I'm American, I'm better than everybody kind of thing. The thing with that is that, I mean, I don't know how I felt about that.
Okay.
I don't think that anything Danielson said was wrong.
I agree.
I don't think necessarily the way he said it was wrong, but I do think the way they went about it was wrong. And
So-
I think there's no point in just putting another heel in front of Adam Page. This could have been a...
So when he said, when I was the world champion, I defended it the very next night. What are you doing?
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about it is they made it sound like they had already announced the match with Evil Uno
Yeah.
earlier in the show, and then they made it sound like that was the setup to the Evil Uno match. So there was kind of some messing up.
Yeah, this was a little bit... I don't think Danielson should go heel, because he's just going to get cheered.
Right.
He's just going to get cheered. It's very difficult to be a cheered heel.
I was trying to keep everything to like 3 things, but Jay Lethal versus Sammy Guevara, that was an amazing match.
This was a good match, but it had AEW problems, which is just like WWE problems, which is there was a lot of outside ref forgetting to be an authority figure problems.
Okay.
I had with this match. I will say everything that they did looked great. Jay Lethal proved why he is the indie darling for the last, 15 years?
And I love that every time he tried to do his lethal injection, it got blocked.
Yeah. No, everything about this looked good. It played out well. It made Sammy look good. As you guys know, I'm not huge on Sammy Guevara. I think he's very overrated, and I think he is very unsafe.
Yes.
Compared to like Darby Allin, who looks very unsafe, but is actually very, very technically good at what he does. But Jay Lethal proved that he's Jay Lethal, and that's really all this match needed.
I think that Sammy's maturing a little, but
I hope so.
It got a 4.25 star match.
I hope his days on the beach made him realize that he shouldn't do or say things.
Uncle Dave gave him 4.25 stars.
And also, this goes to prove and validate what Jim Cornette said of how do you have Jay Lethal on the board and the WWE doesn't go, man, we could really use somebody the caliber of Jay Lethal to come down here and teach these kids how to work.
Oh, wow, that'd be amazing. And then another major part of the show was Team Taz.
I don't care about Team Taz. I hate Team Taz. I hate everything about Team Taz. I don't want Team Taz to be on the show. I don't ever want to see Taz on national programming again. His voice is like someone driving over a bag of dead cats.
Okay, I get that, but Dante Martin looks like... The thing about... I love Dante Martin as a wrestler. He always looks like he just doesn't know where he should be. His facial, he's just like a lost puppy. And I forgot, I cannot believe...
As one of the
I forgot that Leo Rush can actually wrestle.
No, I didn't like this match at all. I did not like this match at all.
You didn't have to.
There was a lot of standing around waiting for spots.
Yes.
There was a lot of people getting in position to do.
I blame that on Max. I blame that on Max Caster and Anthony Bones. But the last thing that so it's not on here. But our what do you call it?
Our women's championship.
Our women's championship match.
Crawl.
So I got knocked out of one half. I predicted Sheeta to go all the way and be in the final. Sheeta was knocked out by Nyla Rose. So I am... Half my bracket has been cut in half. But you're still alive on yours. But you
Even
did.
though I want to say one of my gal out.
Yeah, you thought she was going to win also.
Yeah.
So the next week I think we're getting Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho. It doesn't matter because whoever wins that match I thought was going to get beaten by Sheeta. So I'm out of that whole half.
Yeah, you're out of that half. I'm still alive and well. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
It's good. What it's going to come down to is the only match that's going to really, for me and him, is who wins Thunder Rosa versus Jade.
Yes.
Because I'm picking Jade, he picked Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa.
After that, we're all done.
Because I said Thunder Rosa to win it all against Ruby Soho in the end.
Right, and I said Jade against Statlander.
Yeah.
Or Sheeta, sorry. So, Impact Hardcore Country is getting Raquel. That's going to be on Saturday night. Their pay-per-view is already. Macklin got added to the X Division match, and they announced Wrestle House 2. Which was hilarious last time. It really was. Although, part of the heartbeat of Wrestle House 2 was Taya Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see what happens.
I'm sure she only has 30 days. She was on an NXT contract.
I mean, and again, Impact was a better show than NXT or Raw. Alright. So, Raw and SmackDown. It's all about Survivor Series. It's all about Sonya Deville being evil. And it's all about...
Oh, no, it's about Adam Pearce being evil. And I guess Sonya Deville being evil. So, let's go back to our...
There's not a figurehead.
Storyline that makes no sense. There is no figure line. There is no figurehead. The figurehead that we have is currently on both brands. Also, what we have presented on television at this point was that Adam Pearce was a sniveling little bitch. Because Roman Reigns made him look like a punk.
That was like a year ago. We forgot.
No, it wasn't. We have not forgotten, because I am like an elephant, and I do not forget.
The NXT universe forgets things. They also had Vince McMahon also had him dress up like a postal worker when he first got introduced.
Adam Pearce was presented as a cowardly, very afraid, could not stand up to his champion, refused to wrestle him even though he was presented with the option of possibly becoming the world heavyweight champion of that company, and did shenanigans to screw over the heels. Then they brought in Sonya. And Sonya, who just walked around backstage as she had just come back, even though she had wrestled a Loser Leaves Town Forever match. Okay?
Because her house got broken into.
Because someone did a very, very not good thing in her personal life, which is very messed up. Sonya Deville's back. She's walking around backstage. Oh my God, Sonya Deville's back. She's a new authority figure. Hey, Stephanie McMahon, she's now authority figure. Okay, hey, this is great. Everybody high five. Woo, woo, woo. Oh my God, she's undermining Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce doesn't want to make this match, but Sonya does. Ooh, this guy versus this guy, or this guy in a triple threat handicap, blah, blah, blah. That sounds like a really
holla,
idea.
holla, holla.
Oh, Sonya, that's a great idea. Adam, why aren't you coming up with these ideas? Adam, your job might be on the line here soon. Well, maybe that could be interesting if Adam Pearce started doing some things. Nope, he's just a full heel now who fed the Mysterios to Bobby Lashley, forgot his own stipulation of the creation of Team Raw because he needed Raw to go over really big at the pay-per-view, except for the fact that he is not in charge of Raw and Sonya is in charge of SmackDown. They're both in charge of each other. Right. They also forgot that Sonya Deville was supposed to be the heel person of this. She also screwed over people on there and did a half-assed worked match where Naomi got jacked up and beat up by Shayna Baszler and all this other crap. This is all over the fucking place, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
Because when Adam Pearce is on Raw, he's like, I'm trying to make the best Survivor Series main event possible. And when he's on SmackDown, you know what he says? I'm trying to make SmackDown the best team possible.
He had to have Caveman come in and be his, muscle because he was going to shake things up and he was afraid he was going to get beat up on SmackDown.
Although Caveman wasn't there last week.
The big talk about is that Adam Pearce is forming this faction around him or something. How? He's done nothing, and he's a whiny bitch who can't stand up to Roman Reigns.
It would have made more sense to have Pearce in charge of Raw and Deville in charge of SmackDown, definitively.
Yes. This makes no sense whatsoever.
Because at least that would be something to brag about.
Yes.
When you have the same creative team on camera, because we all know it's one big creative team, but when the same creative team on camera is booking both sides, who cares?
They're literally booking against themselves, and they don't know that they are. But they're not booking against themselves. They're literally booking against each other, not realizing that they're booking against each other. Also, why is Adam Pearce now a heel?
Sure.
This makes no sense. This storyline goes nowhere.
So, and honestly, there's no other good storylines on either show. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Sonya Deville's still being evil.
Well, no. Let's talk about that. Kevin Owens.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a story.
Kevin Owens, who said,
F it, I'm going to be a bad guy.
I'm not a bad guy. I want to be a good guy, and I want to prove to everybody that I'm not the guy that I used to be. He was presented with a smidgen of doubt. Just a smidgen. Just a sprinkle. Just a sprinkle of doubt was presented to him. And he goes full batshit heel and beats the crap out of Big E and just goes, screw it, I'm a heel. Everybody knows I'm a heel and I'm a backstabbing bastard, and sure, I'm just going to do all that stuff too.
But he's doing it smartly, at least.
Terrible.
But it's smartly and going, you know what, if you're just going to accuse me of being the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy.
Raw has no baby faces outside of Big E.
Matt Riddle.
I'm not counting that. I'm not.
You're not counting tag teams.
I'm not. Well, no. I'm just not counting Arcade Bro because they can't figure out what they're doing with them.
All right. So
Finn Balor was just completely eviscerated, like Mel Gibson in the last part of Braveheart. They basically chopped his balls off and cut his intestines out and strung him up and chopped his head off and stuck it on a pike in the middle of the fucking street at this point because they completely destroyed Finn Balor.
So there's only three. You're right. I'm looking at the Raw. Of all the people that wrestled on Monday night, there's only 3 people that are baby faces: Big E, Angelo Dawkins, and Montez Ford.
Yeah.
Everybody. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor. Oh, JG Styles and Omos versus Dolph Ziggler. Heels versus
Bobby
heels.
Lashley. Heel. Rey Mysterio was destroyed. But why did Rey Mysterio have a 20-minute match with Bobby Lashley?
It was 11 minutes. It just felt like 20.
It felt so long. This match went on for so long.
It was the longest. It was the longest match of the night.
So long. And I agree with Dutch Mantel's comments of why was Dominic Mysterio out there doing spots after being destroyed by Bobby Lashley in the previous week. That kid should have been in a plaster cast, full body wheelchair coming out after being destroyed by Bobby Lashley.
All right, so let's talk about NXT.
At least Goldberg's kid, who was corpsing on national pay-per-view, did not come back.
And then SmackDown, again, more of the same...
More of the same trash. This is a rudderless shit.
All right, so NXT. So
this was I wanted 40 minutes to pitch this, and this was going to be called Mike Destroys NXT.
So
I now have, 7 minutes to do this in.
No, you have 12. Well, actually, you're right, because I have a little video. So, fine, we can go.
No, I don't want to go over. I'm tired. My throat's all.
Yeah, well,
maybe you shouldn't have.
Maybe you shouldn't.
I'm probably breathing COVID all over you or something.
Well, that's
point.
because
I don't know.
You kind of went over on a couple things. So
I went over.
Yeah,
I went over.
Anyway, so Cameron Grimes wins a poker match. Why?
No. Hold on. No.
They
we're not going to talk about the. I don't want to go to the show breakdown just yet. I have questions I need to ask you. So the new people who show up, who had a We Are the New People breakout star tournament. Now they remembered they had to write characters for them. Why do they all have random ass segments about who they are? Why does Duke have a poker room? Why is Tony D'Angelo a mafia person? Why is Lash LaRue or whatever the hell her name is?
I fast forward to that.
Why is she a talk show host?
Lashing out.
But she's doing Bianca's thing. She's a combination of Ellen DeGeneres and Bianca.
So
why do they have that?
So because
why did they murdered Zion Quinn by having him sing Sexy Boy by Shawn Michaels and dance in the middle of the ring to the other guy who said you can't dance or sing of Robert Stone. Why has Robert Stone not been featured endeavored?
That's a good question.
Why does everybody on this show have to have a character that makes no sense and a backstage segment about who their character is? You might as well go back and hire Brooklyn Brawler.
Isn't that who Tammy and D'Angelo is? So, I don't know.
Why did Kushida and Jiro have to go jack-off time?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here.
Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the most embarrassing segment that I have had to have someone sit through and watch of Cameron Grimes, who I am back on the hate train, by the way, versus Duke. So when they announced this last week and said that they were going to have a, Texas Hold'em poker match or something?
I thought they were going to be quick little segments.
I assumed this was going to be like the Symphony of Destruction match, where there would be like card tables and poker chips and stuff set outside the ring as props, and they would have a match.
Oh.
That's what I thought. No! Someone, for some reason, like what was it a couple years ago when they had the Pawn Stars segment? Somebody went, hey, you know what's killing us in the ratings right now? Texas Hold'em over here on TLC or whatever it is. Let's do Texas Hold'em on our wrestling program. And they did! And they scripted it. So first off, as I said, my roommate Jason came in and sat down while this was going on, and the only thing I could think of was, fuck. They're like, why is it they only want to watch wrestling when it's the worst thing on cable television right now? And that's what they choose to watch. And the very first thing I do is I go, I go, well, the dealer didn't shuffle the cards, so clearly this is a setup.
Oh, yeah. I think the cards are stacked.
The cards were completely stacked. If you notice, she actually removed a card at one point, which I thought was interesting. But the whole plot of this, in their brilliant writing scheme of their drama brother, Cameron Grimes outbluffs Duke. Now, they made sure to over-exaggerate this so much that the crowd was chanting, bluff, boring, bullshit, you got punked. And on top of that, they let Cameron Grimes call Duke tiny balls. Now, the entire crowd is chanting, you have tiny balls at Duke. That man will probably have the chant, you have tiny balls, yelled at him for the rest of his career. What did this do for Duke? Your new, hot, Australian, big, muscular talent. Also, who gives a shit about the breakout tournament? Every single person who was in it got a job.
Yeah.
Every single person who was in the breakout tournament got a job.
The only person who got over on NXT is Persia. Only person who got over.
This is a stupid segment. And yeah, the whole point of it is that he got bluffed, he folded, he bitched out. They literally said, we have one hand. They didn't have any other hands.
And none of the...
And then he got mad, and then he kicked Cameron Grimes in the face, and then he took out a pair of... Well, first, he went outside, grabbed the toolbox from underneath, and he picked up a claw hammer. And I immediately said, oh, God, yes, please beat his fucking brains in with a claw hammer. And then he goes, nope, I'm going to pick up these very safe-looking yarn scissors that are in a toolbox. And I made the argument, because, again, someone's watching this with me and goes, why would there be scissors in a toolbox? And I said, well, maybe it's for first aid. Maybe for bandages that people keep in their toolbox or something. I'm trying to rewrite this shit in my mind. And he goes in and he cuts off Cameron's beard. But he does it in a very nice way of trimming up Cameron's beard. And then he takes his hair and cuts a little section. But then he actually did get a hold of a big section and cut a huge section out. And I thought to myself, I wonder how much they just paid this moron to have his hair cut on national television. And my hope was a lot, but my fear is probably not very much at all.
Or he's just going to get future endeavored as a bald guy.
Yep. Or, I mean, they're going to have... is this going to build to a hair versus hair match? What was the point in any of this?
Yeah,
this is dumb. This is stupid. This is another reason why NXT 2.0 is shit.
So,
Tony D'Angelo and Dexter Lumis. Why is the crowd chanting for Tony D'Angelo?
We're not breaking down every match.
I'm not breaking down every fucking match. But what I'm saying is this guy is a fat schlub who somebody remembered that the Many Saints of Newark was coming out from The Sopranos, so they had to have a Soprano character on the television. But some reason, I guess his family is in the audience because they're going, Tony! Tony! He can't do anything. And then Dexter Lumis gets his hand broken. Zion Quinn!
Yeah.
Had a horrible match with Andre Chase, who can't work. I work better than Andre Chase. And he wrestled in a cardigan.
So
Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner, are they still going to be together after he called him out for being Adam Pearce's backup bodyguard? We don't know. That's not being resolved. Also, Von Wagner, as far as I know, he's not the mystery extra person that was supposed to show up
I know.
on SmackDown Survivor Series team. Nope, wasn't him. That went nowhere. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, after coming back for a week, apparently have their match. Dakota Kai, who
Still can't wrestle,
but also apparently the WWE has decided that someone has to embody this character because Liv Morgan, who was Harley Quinn, who became a lesbian, who is now just a bondage fetish doll, and Alexa Bliss, who was a bratty goddess, who became Harley Quinn, who turned into a demon goddess person. Also, Dakota Kai, who was whatever Dakota Kai was, is now Harley Quinn.
So I like to. So I'm going to use
because she's twitching, and
I'm going to use a Cornettish. Dakota Kai is Jenny Sameface.
Dakota Kai is turn off the television heat. And I cannot believe that people are saying she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They have a not good match, and then for the absolutely no reason at all whatsoever, they have a horrible spot where the bottom turnbuckle gets taken off, and she gets thrown. Raquel Gonzalez gets arm drug into it and gets her face busted open, and then all of a sudden, Toxic Attraction, because Kevin Dunn, who is apparently probably shooting this now, is just in the back pleasuring himself to Toxic Attraction come out, and they beat up Raquel Gonzalez so that way Zoe Stark, who had her ACL torn out and is not going to be wrestling for the next 6 to 9 months, comes out. And then Io Shirai comes out, and everybody gets in a hodgepodge, and they go, War Games! This show sucked.
I just want to know who the male War Games is going to be, because,
Well, it's going to be Tommaso Ciampa, it's going to be Braun Breaker, it's probably going to be Johnny Gargano.
I don't want to know right now.
Yeah, and then the other half is going to be what's his name? Carmelo Anthony, who's the only new star, aside from Odyssey Jones, who looks good.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, all right. So
NXT is a horrible show. He cut my segment down, and I did not get the full rage that I had been built up inside of me about how bad this once great show was, because they decided that 600,000 people watching their show was not good enough, that they needed to do something drastic and lose more viewers than they had. They've lost more than they had when the show was getting beat by their not competition, because the show sucks now. And the only person that they seem to have any interest in at all whatsoever doesn't even get to keep his real name. But they keep referencing his real name.
Speaking of
they
which,
keep calling him the dog-faced gremlin, or they do the 33 1/3% chance of winning stuff.
1, 2, 3. Now, I'm no math major, and by the sounds of it, you ain't either. But the way I see it, you've got less than a 33 1/3% chance of ever taking this NXT title from me. Now, you can bark up the tree all you want, but at the end of the day, Braun, you're just a puppy. And me, I'm the NXT champion.
that is the best 45 seconds of NXT. That is the best 45 seconds of NXT.
Which proves why he's the champion right now. However, though, here's the interesting problem with all of that. Braun screwed up his own promo, because Braun looks like Rick, but he talks like Scotty.
Right,
And he didn't get out what he needed to get out, because he gets real excited like Scotty would do. And he's like, well, Tommaso, you're just really like pissing off that... And you can see it on his face where he's just like, shit, I lost it.
Breakdown.
Yeah, he just had a mental breakdown for it. So that proves that he's not there yet.
And so
this was good, except for the fact of, why are you referencing to... If someone turns into the show and watches this and...
Well, he looks
okay, hold on. Wait.
He looks more like his uncle than his father.
Let's back up a little bit. Let's just back up just a little bit further for this. He literally referenced a person who they aren't going to work for, who isn't going to work for them because Scotty's not going to go there. As we found out, Rick Steiner was supposed to be at the Halloween Havoc match, but pulled out for whatever reasons undisclosed at the last minute. His son, who isn't going by his real name or his family's fake wrestling name, who has a whole new identity. Also, Tommaso Ciampa referenced his uncle, not his dad's promo, from another company that they don't own or have video footage of from a decade ago.
But then he brought it back and referenced his father.
Which means that any person of this new 2.0 audience that you're trying to get, who just tuned in, who's never seen the show before, has no clue what Tommaso Ciampa's talking about, unless they've watched wrestling for the last 20 years.
Okay, I want you to remember you said that. I want you to keep that in your mind for
I'm keeping that in my mind.
For 3 more minutes, because I want to, before I ask you my final question that I'm going to ask you, did I forget to put Jacket Time? I was going to put Jacket Time.
I don't want to watch Jacket Time.
Why is that a thing? Why do they kill Kushida? Why are we killing Kushida with Jacket Time?
I don't know. They killed Kushida with Jack Off Time.
Ready? Here you go. Read this.
WrestleNomics Brandon Thurston said the average viewer age for this week's record low rated episode of NXT was once again 62 years old.
So, they know that promo! Remember how NXT 2.0
is that not my point that I just made?
NXT 2.0 was supposed to bring in the younger crowd. These are the people who were watching
Here's the question I have for that. I don't know WrestleNomics. I don't know where that site's from or anything, okay? But
they're pulling that from...
Are they pulling that from Nelson Scans?
Yes.
Okay.
So what's happening is people are watching NCIS and dozing off and keeping this on because it's so boring it doesn't wake them up like the old NXT used to.
The show is awful. They're saying 60. I'm almost half of that.
I'm 46 and
I'm 37.
So people that are watching NXT 2.0 are, like you said, way back at the beginning of this.
Which means
people that are watching Impact are also watching Raw.
Yes.
Are also watching AEW.
They're not getting any new fans and they're alienating the ones they have. And why is that happening? Well, because of shit like that. Also the fact of you just told the viewing audience it does not matter who you are. It does not matter what you do. You will be future endeavored for the greater good of the company for Vince's pocketbook. We don't care that the other company is on air, on national television, and is beating us with the talent that we just fired 6 months ago. Also on top of that, your heroes that you get behind on this show that is meant to be our check out our up-and-coming shows, those people right there, when the time they hit Raw and SmackDown, it doesn't matter. We weren't paying attention. We hope you forgot about it. And we're going to job them out in their very first match in less than 2 minutes. See Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. Why would anyone want to work for Vince? Why would anyone want to watch the show? And I know I've been super negative and hammering this.
I was going to say, you've ended the last 3 of our shows with that exact same quote.
But why? Why would anyone want to go there and work there when you have another show that just had a pay-per-view card featuring people in a long-form format, whether or not I agree with those rating stars or not, and you guys got our opinion on last week's show of what we thought it looked like, that card was better produced, better executed, and better performed by people who are either die-hard good for that company, or the talent that the other people said weren't worth their time keeping, and they put on a show that didn't have a match less than 3 stars on it. I guarantee you, if you were to look at NXT, these matches would barely touch the 2-star range.
There's not a 3-star match on it.
There's not a single 3-star match.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you rather watch NXT 2.0 for an hour or watch a Kenny Omega and a Bucks match back to back?
I think I would honestly rather have my testicles split open and flayed out and have honey sprayed across them and have bees come in and sting them at that point. Truthfully, for that point, what I would say is that Omega, despite his issues, is an amazing athlete to watch. The Bucks have got a buck, and I don't like it, but I would rather watch a Bucks match than watch almost anything on 2.0 at this point.
You mean you'd rather watch the Bucks than Tony D'Angelo or Straight Jacket?
Yeah, and I love Kushida, and the sad thing with that is that
he's still trying to make it
work. That
work.
match was not bad.
Kushida's still trying to make it work.
Kushida's trying to turn apples to oranges, and that was not bad. Odyssey Jones could be a massive star. People were in the crowd doing this, And I guarantee you, when they call him up, they're going to call him Bearcat Jones. Or what is another famous black wrestler that Vince somehow will remember from yesteryear? You're going to be Bad News Jones.
Odyssey Atlas.
Odyssey Atlas. I don't know. Vince really...
Junkyard Jones.
Junkyard Jones.
Junkyard Jones.
You really haven't done much for that community in terms of pushing them, so I guarantee you only have a handful of people to choose from of names that you can remember to attach to this guy. The Rednecks are not good.
Oh, they horrible.
I hate them. Kyle O'Reilly with Von Wagner is so bad. Also, the fact that they keep referencing Kyle O'Reilly's past of betrayal, but none of the people who betrayed him are on this show.
And this,
Yeah.
All right, so
and SmackDown just fucking sucked in general too.
So we hope that you enjoy our show after you watch it. After you've watched the disappointing Survivor Series.
My hope is that I hope they throw. You know what I hope? If I was Roman Reigns, I would go in the back and I would take the Undertaker spot and say, "Look, all right, everybody. They want me to be Taker. They want me to be the new locker room leader. They want me to be Dwayne. They want me to be the face of the company. All right, you guys know that that's what I'm here for. You guys know that they pay Brock twice as much as they pay me, but I'm the guy who's here, who's every week, right?" I would take every single person in the back and I would say this: look, the old man's going to do what the old man's going to do. But I want every single one of us to go out there and put on the best show that we possibly can and wrestle our asses off, because at the end of the day, what Drake Maverick said is important. Professional wrestler is your dream. They can't take that away from you. They can devalue you. They can stick you in a bad spot. They can job you out. But at the end of the day, they cannot take your natural God-given talent to perform in that ring. If you can't wrestle, but you can talk your ass off like Enzo Amore, you know what you can do? You can talk yourself into a position that will make people want to see you. If you can't talk, but you are a physical specimen that is beholden to the human race, you can go get a job someplace else. See Braun Strowman.
They'll give you somebody to talk for you.
They'll get you somebody to talk for you. If you are a professional wrestler, at the end of the day, Vince cannot take that from you. He can take your money. He can take your livelihood from you. But he cannot take away your dream. Someone will call you. Whether it be Tony or who's the other guy? Demore,
or
Corgan, MLW, whether it be Japan, Bronson Reed. Somebody will call you. And there's an article I read that I want to close on that I don't know if you saw, but I don't know what the truity?
The truth behind it.
Truth. Validation? Validity is behind this. Someone said Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, and Karrion Killer Kross might try and start their own promotion.
Ooh.
And if they did, they would gladly go and work there for them. I don't know how true that was. I don't know if that was somebody talking out of their ass or whatever. But it is a very simple fact of...
I think
and when they said that, I was like, ooh. I was like, that's a faction I hadn't thought of before, when I would like to see Braun Strowman, Karrion Kross, and Bray Wyatt together? Oh, Vince, you just fired all three of them. That would have been a hell of a faction.
I think that I think the person who could benefit the most in this, honestly, would be if he could, is Corgan. If he could get a television deal and he could bring some of his NWA people, because he's got Austin Aries is back to wrestling in NWA.
Good for Austin. I like Austin. I'm glad he got his mind right.
I think or get MLW. Somebody needs to Tony Khan it. Some rich boy has got to go, Dad, I love wrestling.
Well,
give me some money.
unfortunately, that's, as I said in the last show that I had a great idea for how to do something and it would cost X amount of dollars to do that. But if you go back and look, I think maybe even before I know our previous conversations that we have had, but even if you look at our old television from a year and a half ago, what did I say? I said the only thing that's going to compete with Vince is somebody who has a checkbook big enough to get a national television deal. And that's what Tony Khan did.
Yep.
Billy Corgan might be able to do it because he could probably bankroll it himself based off of royalties from the Smashing Pumpkins. Plus all of the other songs he wrote for other people.
Right, but he's content to have it on Facebook right now.
Well, it's on YouTube.
YouTube,
Yeah.
and Facebook. It started on Facebook.
Yeah. But still, he's content to do that, and he's probably bankrolling that because he's a huge wrestling fan. If they give NWA, because of its pedigree, a national television deal at some point, even if it's on, like, Access, like the other crappy show is, they could do something with that.
Impact's not crappy anymore. That's the problem.
No, they still killed a person.
So did WWE.
Yeah, but...
Literally, because he's no longer there.
Yeah, they literally killed him. Man.
Mm.
The funny thing is if they were going to fire him, why didn't they fire him when they burned him alive?
I don't know.
Why did they bring him back as a zombie at WrestleMania and then fire him the next day? Well, fire him 3 months later.
Alexis Bliss coming back after Survivor Series?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what Lexi's surgery looked like. I haven't looked at her Instagram recently.
All right, guys. We only went 12 minutes over.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I can go longer.
Do you want to?
What do you want to talk about?
Do you want to continue ranting and raving about how much you love NXT? And
I think the problem is that I ramp myself up in the Thursday, Friday. I try to put in my head like things I want to do, and then usually what happens is like Saturday, Sunday, I kind of get like ugh, and then like
so on Thursday,
I feel that
send me
all
those text messages.
Yeah, but it's in my head. It's like shower thoughts. Like I get in the shower and I'm cleaning off and I'm just like, God, I hated NXT so bad. I can't wait to talk about it. And then when we get here, I'm just like, and F this and this and this and this because I can't keep it in a nice, cohesive line. We used to take notes for things like that, but we don't want to do individual
You can
breakdowns
take
like-
notes.
No, if I take notes, then I'm just going to have like an entire like college essay paper about why this was so bad. Plus I like to... I think that going off the cuff works good for us,
It does. Some of our best shows have gone that way.
Yeah.
But you asked me to give you 20 minutes about why you hate NXT, and I tried. I gave you. We had 25 plus. We gave 35.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yeah.
And we went a little long with our predicts. We went a little long with Full Gear
because Full Gear was probably the best show of the year.
right? And
Yeah.
I mean, but right up until here, we were like right on target.
Yeah, no, we were doing good.
I know you don't care about any of this.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
I think this is the first time you actually looked over at the paper a couple times to see where we were at.
Yeah, no, I like to go with the flow. Nice heavy flow.
All right, well, that's it. Bye.
Bye, deuces, bitch.